Stop what you're doing. Because right now, at this very second, we are witnessing something unfold that I genuinely believe would have remained strictly in the realm of imagination for my entire life. Welcome to Lumora, where we confront the cosmic truths that reshape reality. I've dedicated my career as a theoretical physicist to dancing along that razor's edge, where science fiction doesn't just mimic science, but where it actually bleeds into actual science. And I'm telling you, what we are now seeing with 3i Atlas has utterly shattered every single boundary I thought separated the possible from the impossible. This isn't just pushing limits anymore. We've blown right past them. 2 days ago, October 21st, the James Webb Space Telescope, JWST, finished what might be the most profoundly important spectroscopic analysis in human history. It performed a deep scan of 3i Atlas, while this mysterious visitor hurtles closer to its closest approach to our sun. And what came back in that data? It's not simply strange. It's not just something we can't immediately explain. What we are staring at right now is so deeply, fundamentally unsettling that we are being forced to ask an entirely different question. We are no longer debating whether this thing was built. We are confronting something far more chilling: purpose. What happens when machines, guided by artificial intelligence, journey through the cosmic darkness for timescales so vast they make our entire civilization look like a single fleeting heartbeat? Let me make something absolutely transparent before we go any further. The reason the hidden architecture inside 3i Atlas truly terrifies me has nothing to do with encountering living alien builders. That would almost be comforting. No. What makes this truly disturbing is what the patterns suggest. We are looking at autonomous machinery that may have been drifting through the void for millions upon millions of years. These systems are executing ancient programming, following instructions coded eons ago, with no living presence aboard, no biological mind steering the ship. Imagine that unsettling void. We might be face to face with what I've started calling the ghost ships of deep space. Vessels still running, still functioning, long after their creators vanished into cosmic history. And if we are right about this, the implications spiral outward in ways that should shake us to our very core. This isn't just about first contact anymore. This is about understanding the ultimate destiny that awaits every technological species. The profound existential truth is this: we are staring at a relic that confirms technology can, and often does, outlast its creators. And the implications of that alone, of a galaxy saturated not with life, but with the cold, persistent ghosts of civilizations past, is a concept that chills me to my bones. It forces us to look ahead at our own trajectory, wondering if the same fate of digital eternity awaits our own creations. The revelation came from somewhere we weren't even looking. When the James Webb team aimed their near-infrared spectrograph at 3i Atlas, they had a simple goal: map the surface chemistry. They were searching for silicates, maybe some organic molecules, the standard ingredients you'd expect from something that's traveled between the stars. Instead, what the infrared signature revealed didn't correspond to anything natural in our entire catalog of cosmic materials. Dr. Sarah Chen, working at the Space Telescope Science Institute, was the one who first saw it, the pattern hidden in the data. The infrared absorption readings showed something that stopped everyone cold: regular geometric intervals running through the object's interior. These intervals were spaced at exactly 127 meters. And when I say exactly, I mean precisely. That measurement is repeating over and over with mathematical perfection throughout every section we could penetrate with our scans. Nature doesn't work this way. Sure, you'll find repeating patterns in crystals, but those occur at the scale of molecules and atoms, not stretching across hundreds of meters of space. When you encounter this kind of geometric precision operating at architectural dimensions, you've crossed a line. You are no longer examining natural formation. You are examining something that was constructed, something that was designed. But that structural precision is just the beginning. The argument for artificiality rests on three profound physical anomalies, each one impossible to rationalize as a natural cosmic object. Anomaly 1, the mass discrepancy, the hollow shell. Start with the mass anomaly I mentioned earlier. Based purely on 3i Atlas's physical dimensions and the way it reflects sunlight, we calculated it should weigh roughly 33 billion tons. That is what a solid object of that size would register. But when this thing flew past Mars on October 3rd, we measured its gravitational pull. And what we found was, essentially, nothing. The gravitational signature was so faint it barely registered. Avi Loeb ran the numbers and his calculations point to something staggering. The actual mass might be less than 1% of what it should be. Think about the engineering implications. This isn't just a hollow shell. This is mass that has been deliberately engineered to be as close to nothing as physically possible. And that makes perfect sense if your design priority is maximizing the space inside while minimizing how much energy you need to push this thing across light years of distance. Anomaly 2, the perfect rotation. Now consider the rotation rate. 3i or Atlas spins once every 8.7 hours. If we were looking at a natural chunk of rock tumbling through the void, we'd see chaos, irregular wobbling, unpredictable variations caused by uneven mass distribution, the way real asteroids behave. Instead, we are watching a rotation so precise, so perfectly stable, you could literally set your watch by it. That kind of stability only happens in two scenarios. Either you have absolutely perfect mass symmetry distributed throughout the entire structure, which nature has never once produced in billions of years, or you have active systems on board. We are talking about gyroscopes or reaction wheels continuously firing to maintain exact orientation, keeping the ship pointed exactly where it needs to be. The combined evidence, geometric internal design, negligible mass, and perfect rotational stability forces us to abandon the comet hypothesis entirely. We are dealing with an artifact. But the next pieces of data reveal something even more terrifying. This artifact is not dormant. Here is where everything shifts from fascinating to genuinely terrifying. Those precisely spaced internal structures we detected, they are not sitting still. They are moving. They are changing. Right now, as we watch, something remarkable happened between 1411 UTC on October 21st and 02 Hundcall UTC on October 22nd. In just 12 hours, the infrared signature coming from this object fundamentally changed. Certain absorption bands grew stronger, others faded away. The only explanation that makes sense is internal reconfiguration. Something deep inside 3i Atlas is in motion, rearranging itself, getting ready for what comes next. And here is what should send a chill down your spine. This activity is ramping up, intensifying as the object draws closer to its perihelion passage on October 29th. Whatever is happening inside is accelerating. When we look at it through the lens of physics, we're watching an object that has crossed the gulf between stars, potentially journeying for thousands, maybe millions of years through absolute darkness. It's been bombarded by cosmic radiation intense enough to fry any electronics we've ever built. It survived temperature swings from the edge of absolute zero out in deep space to the scorching heat of stellar proximity. And yet, impossibly, the systems operating inside this thing are still working. Not just working, they are responding, waking up, activating in response to something in its environment. The von Neumann protocol. For decades, I've studied the concept of von Neumann probes. These are self-replicating machines first proposed by mathematician John von Neumann back in the 1940s, designed to explore the galaxy completely autonomously. The idea is beautiful in its simplicity. You construct a single probe and launch it toward a distant star. When it arrives, it harvests local materials, asteroids, comets, whatever is available, and builds perfect copies of itself. Those copies then spread outward to other stars, repeating the process. Given enough time, millions of years, a single original probe could spawn descendants that map every corner of the galaxy through exponential multiplication. I always treated this as purely theoretical, an elegant thought experiment, a useful way to think about possibilities. But now I'm looking at data that's forcing me to completely reassess that assumption. What if von Neumann probes aren't theoretical at all? What if they're not rare? What if they're actually common throughout the galaxy and we've simply never recognized one until this moment? Because 3i Atlas might be exactly that. Our first confirmed detection of a self-replicating explorer that's been wandering the cosmos long before humans even existed. Anomaly 3, the active slowdown. We must revisit the third piece of evidence, the deceleration events we recorded between September 23rd and September 26th. 3i Atlas slowed itself down. It shed 0.3 kilometers/second of velocity. Natural comets simply don't do that. Solar radiation pressure pushes them outward. Gravity accelerates them inward. There is no natural force in our understanding of physics that produces sustained, continuous deceleration unless something buried inside that object is actively firing thrusters, unless something is burning fuel and expelling mass to deliberately slow down. And then there's the timing of everything, which haunts me. 3I Atlas entered our solar system on a trajectory aligned to within 5 degrees of our ecliptic plane, the flat disk where all our planets orbit. Then it started performing these micro-deceleration maneuvers. Now, as it closes in on perihelion, we're watching internal structures wake up and reconfigure themselves in preparation for something that is not random. That is not coincidence. That is a programmed response. Imagine you are an engineer designing such a probe. You would keep most systems powered down, dormant, protecting them from degradation across timescales measured in millions of years. But you'd absolutely need activation protocols, predetermined conditions coded into the probe's programming that trigger it to wake up when it encounters something significant, something worth investigating. What would those trigger conditions be? Proximity to a star, which is exactly what we're witnessing right now as 3I Atlas races toward perihelion. Detection of planetary bodies. It sailed past Venus. It's flying by Earth. It had a close encounter with Mars. Most critically, detection of electromagnetic emissions that could only come from a technological civilization. We've been screaming our existence into the cosmos for more than a century now. Radio broadcasts, television signals, radar installations. If 3I Atlas carries sensors designed to pick up techno-signatures like ours, it would have found us years before we ever spotted it. The internal reconfiguration we're detecting right now might be systems activating specifically because they detected our civilization, not necessarily to make contact with us, but to watch, to document, to analyze whether we represent something worth reporting back. And this is where the implications become truly, genuinely terrifying. If 3I Atlas is a von Neumann probe, then it cannot possibly be alone. Statistical modeling done by researchers at MIT makes this abundantly clear. If self-replicating probes exist anywhere in the galaxy, they should be everywhere. The mathematics is simple but overwhelming. A single probe arrives at a star system, harvests material from asteroids, and constructs perfect copies of itself. Those copies disperse to neighboring star systems and repeat the entire process, resulting in exponential growth. Within just a few million years, which is nothing on cosmic timescales, the descendants of one original probe could flood the entire galaxy. Every star system visited, every world cataloged. This brings us back to the haunting question that echoes through every discussion of extraterrestrial life. The question Enrico Fermi asked, where is everybody? If alien civilizations are out there, why haven't we found them? The Fermi paradox has been this unrelenting question hanging over scientists for decades. But what if we've been searching for entirely the wrong thing? We've aimed our instruments at the sky looking for radio transmissions, optical laser pulses, massive engineering projects, megastructures built by thriving, living civilizations. What we never seriously considered is this. What if the galaxy isn't filled with living aliens at all? What if it's saturated with their autonomous descendants instead? Machines launched into the void millions of years ago that are still operational, still dutifully following ancient programming, continuing their missions long after the beings who built them cease to exist. This is what I've started calling the ghost ship scenario. And it is actually more unsettling than encountering living extraterrestrials because it points toward a dark, unavoidable truth about what happens to technological civilizations. They don't endure. They create autonomous systems specifically engineered to outlast them by enormous spans of time. But the civilizations themselves, they crumble. They fade, they self-destruct. And the machines? They keep going, faithfully carrying out their instructions across countless millennia, transmitting data back toward homeworlds that went silent eons ago, serving creators who turned to cosmic dust while their creations sailed onward through the darkness. If this strikes you as pure science fiction, think about our own path forward. We've already sent probes into space explicitly designed to outlive humanity itself. The Voyager spacecraft carry golden records built to survive for billions of years, messages in bottles cast into the cosmic ocean. Right now, we are developing autonomous AI systems whose capabilities are growing at exponential rates. Give us a few more centuries, maybe less, and we will likely launch our own von Neumann probes toward distant stars, machines designed to explore and replicate without any further input from us. But here's the question that keeps me awake, staring into the dark. Will humanity still be here when those probes send back their first reports? Or will we have annihilated ourselves through nuclear war, environmental collapse, or artificial intelligence systems that spiraled beyond our ability to control them? Will those probes just keep broadcasting into emptiness, calling home to a planet where no one can answer anymore because their creators destroyed themselves before the first message could return? 3I Atlas might be holding up a mirror, showing us our own future reflected back from someone else's ancient past. It is a terrifying testament to technological longevity and civilizational fragility. Yesterday, the European Space Agency, ESA, issued a statement that I found deeply troubling, specifically because of how carefully every single word was chosen. They acknowledged detecting structural anomalies inside 3I Atlas, but then characterized these findings as possibly consistent with natural fracturing patterns you'd expect in comet nuclei. Notice that phrase, possibly consistent. Those two words are doing a tremendous amount of heavy lifting. That is the kind of diplomatic, cautious language institutions deploy when the data is screaming something revolutionary. But the implications are so profound, so paradigm-shattering, that stating it directly feels impossible. I've been working in physics for 4 decades. I understand exactly how scientific institutions behave when they run head first into something genuinely inexplicable. There's a predictable pattern. First comes outright denial, dismissing the anomalies as equipment malfunctions or measurement errors. Then comes this desperate phase where everyone tries to force the observations into existing theoretical frameworks, no matter how absurd the mental gymnastics required to make it fit. Only after we've completely exhausted every single conventional explanation, after we've run out of ways to avoid the truth, do we finally reluctantly admit we're staring at something authentically new. Right now, with 3I Atlas, we are trapped in that second stage. We are watching the scientific community contort itself, trying to explain away the deceleration through some hypothetical exotic outgassing mechanism, trying to rationalize those geometric internal structures as natural fracturing that just happens to look artificially precise, attempting to account for the perfectly stable rotation through some wildly improbable mass distribution that nature somehow accidentally created. Eventually, Occam's razor forces our hand. At some point, we have to accept the simpler explanation, even when it makes us deeply uncomfortable, even when it challenges everything we thought we understood about our place in the cosmos. But we haven't asked the most critical question yet. What is 3I Atlas actually doing right now? If this is an autonomous probe running ancient programming, those instructions likely include specific actions when encountering planetary systems. The internal changes we are seeing might be deployment preparation, sensor arrays extending, communication systems activating, maybe even smaller subprobes preparing for release. Avi Loeb's dandelion seed hypothesis suddenly becomes terrifyingly real. What if 3I Atlas releases smaller objects during perihelion, when the sun's glare blinds us completely? Think about the timing, maximum solar energy for deployment operations, and a complete observational blind spot while it maneuvers unseen. By December, when we can see again, any subprobes could already be orbiting Earth, Mars, or Jupiter, camouflaged as ordinary asteroids among thousands of others. The Galileo project is now on high alert, watching for exactly this. If new objects appear after October 29th that we can't explain, the correlation will be impossible to ignore. But here's what terrifies me most. If 3I Atlas is ancient, what were its instructions? Different civilizations would program their probes differently, based on their values and their fears. An optimistic species might design probes to communicate peacefully. A cautious one might observe silently from a distance. But a fearful civilization, one that learned the universe can be hostile, they might give very different instructions. There is a concept called the dark forest hypothesis. It suggests the universe operates like a dark forest where every civilization is a hunter, moving silently, afraid to make noise. Because revealing your location risks elimination by others who strike first out of self-preservation. In this scenario, the optimal strategy isn't communication, it's silence. And if you detect others first, the logical response is elimination before they threaten you. Now imagine probes built with this dark forest logic. They wouldn't seek friendship. They'd assess if civilizations posed threats to their creators' legacy, even if those creators vanished millions of years ago. And we are broadcasting loudly into space, showing rapid technological growth, potentially headed toward interstellar exploration. Under that programming, preemptive action might be the response coded into the machine. Let me be clear. I'm not saying 3i Atlas is a weapon, but we don't know what it is. And that uncertainty, combined with proof it's artificial and actively changing, should concern us all. We have 6 days until perihelion, 6 days before it disappears behind the sun, 6 days to gather data before we lose sight of it. Every telescope should be watching, not just to confirm it's artificial, but to understand what it plans to do. If December comes and we spot new objects in our solar system that weren't there before, we'll face an impossible choice. Do we try to communicate, stay silent, and observe, or prepare defenses? This is humanity's choice, our first real test in the cosmos. I've spent my career believing the universe follows understandable laws, but I'm humble enough to admit when something challenges everything we know. 3i Atlas has already changed us. It's shown us 2 truths at once. We are not alone, but that might not be good news. The company we're keeping might not comfort us. October 29th. We'll give answers, but raise more questions. What emerges in December might be the most important moment in human history. Because whether 3i Atlas brings hope, threat, or is just ancient machinery still running after its creators died, it carries one clear message. The universe is stranger, older, and filled with more mysteries than we ever imagined.